The makeshift command center hummed with activity as representatives from 7 species gathered around a holographic display of Krenner supply routes. 3 weeks had passed since the Thunderchild's emergency landing on Lurian's IV, and what had begun as a desperate repair operation had evolved into something far greater. Captain Voss stood at the center of the gathering, her uniform now adorned with a crystalline emblem gifted by the Lurian Resistance, a symbol of her status as their liberator. The Thunderchild, partially repaired and enhanced with Lurian crystal technology, remained hidden in a massive underground hangar constructed by thousands of willing workers. "The Sardaxians have confirmed their commitment," announced Nexel, the Telarian who now served as Voss's diplomatic advisor. "Their shipbuilders will sabotage the next generation of Krenner dreadnoughts from within." Thalia, the Viridian sculptor whose resistance cell had been first to welcome the Thunderchild, pointed to a heavily guarded Krenner shipyard on the holographic display. "My people have infiltrated their communication networks. We can coordinate attacks across 12 systems simultaneously." The alliance that had formed around the Thunderchild's presence was unprecedented. Species that had suffered under Krenner rule for generations now found themselves working together, sharing resources and intelligence. Earth's defensive technology, distributed through the diplomatic packages, had already helped 3 worlds repel Krenner retaliation strikes. "Captain," Maya Chen approached, her expression troubled despite the progress around them. "Dr. Mbiki needs to see you immediately." In the communication center adjacent to the command room, Dr. Eliza Mbiki hunched over a terminal, her usual composed demeanor shattered. "We've intercepted communications from Krenner Prime," she said without preamble. "They're developing something called Starbreaker, a weapon capable of collapsing stars." Voss absorbed this news silently, reviewing the translated Krenner specifications on the screen. "How far along is the development?" "Based on these transmissions, they're conducting final tests. Deployment could be weeks away." Mbiki's hands trembled slightly. "Captain, this changes everything. If they can destroy entire star systems." "They're desperate," Voss said, her voice steady. "We've hurt them, and now they're showing their true nature." She returned to the command center and shared the intelligence. The assembled representatives fell silent as the implications sank in. The Krenner, rather than accept defeat, would destroy whole civilizations. An elderly Lurian stepped forward, his vine-like appendages quivering with emotion. "My people have endured 3 centuries of Krenner occupation. We have watched them strip our world of resources and our people of dignity. But this," he gestured at the Starbreaker schematics, "this is beyond even their usual cruelty." "We must stop it," said Thalia, her crystalline features hardening with resolve. Meanwhile, on Krenner Prime, Grand Admiral Zextal faced growing dissent within the scientific community. A respected theoretician named Tellus had publicly questioned the Starbreaker project in the Imperial Court. "This weapon violates our most sacred principle of honorable conquest," Tellus argued, his scales flaring with emotion. "We have always sought to rule worlds, not destroy them utterly." Zextal's response was swift and brutal. Tellus was branded a traitor, but escaped execution thanks to supporters within the scientific caste. As he fled the capital with a group of like-minded Krenner, Tellus made contact with an underground network opposed to Zextal's increasingly desperate tactics. Back on Lurian's IV, Voss received an unexpected message through channels Mbeki had established to monitor Krenner communications. "There are Krenner who remember honor. We can help you stop the madness that has consumed our leadership." The message coincided with reports of 3 key Krenner-held worlds being liberated in a coordinated alliance assault. Species that had remained neutral began to side with the growing coalition, providing resources, intelligence, and ships. "The galaxy is changing," Nexel observed as they watched footage of celebration on a freshly liberated world. "Yes," Voss agreed, studying the message from Tellus. "And we need every ally we can get for what comes next." The infinite blackness of deep space stretched before the Zarkak's reconnaissance squadron, a cold and unforgiving canvas of darkness punctuated by distant starlight. Captain Vrelnak stood motionless on the bridge of the Confederacy's most advanced scanning vessel, his four-lidded eyes fixed on the holographic display that shimmered with translucent data streams. The mission seemed routine, another standard patrol along the contested borders of known space. The Zarkax Confederacy had long prided itself on its comprehensive intelligence gathering, a network of reconnaissance units that mapped and analyzed potential threats with mathematical precision. For centuries, their technology had been unmatched, their scanning capabilities considered the pinnacle of galactic intelligence operations. This particular sector had been quiet for solar cycles. The star charts showed minimal traffic, just an occasional shipping lane, and the remnants of an old navigational beacon. Yet something had triggered their long-range sensors, a faint energy signature that didn't quite match any known vessel configuration. As they approached, the object came into clearer view. It was a human vessel, an Earth Alliance warship that looked remarkably unremarkable. Its hull bore the scars of countless journeys, patches of repaired plating, micrometeor impacts, and the kind of wear that spoke of extended service far from maintenance facilities. To the Zarkax technology specialists, it appeared almost primitive. Commander Lissara, Vrelnax's second-in-command, voiced the collective skepticism of the bridge crew. Another human vessel pushed to the limits of its operational capacity, she commented, her translation implant converting her native clicking language into standard galactic communication. These humans seemed to operate with a complete disregard for technological optimization. Vrelnax remained silent, his sensory tendrils subtly shifting, a biological tell of heightened curiosity. Something about the vessel didn't align with their preliminary assessments. Despite its weathered appearance, there was an underlying symmetry to its design that suggested more than met the initial scan. The squadron's 3 vessels began their approach, maintaining a cautious distance. Standard protocol dictated a comprehensive but non-invasive scan, a gentle probing of the vessel's systems that would reveal its capabilities without triggering any defensive mechanisms. The Zarkax had perfected this technique over millennia of interstellar exploration, their scanning technology capable of penetrating even the most advanced shielding with minimal detectable interference. Dr. Xanter, the lead xenotech analyst, began calibrating the scanning array. His specialized equipment represented the pinnacle of Zarkax technological achievement. Sensors that could map the internal structures of a vessel down to the molecular level, analyzing energy signatures, computational systems, and potential threat capabilities with unprecedented detail. The human vessel remained motionless. No communication attempts, no defensive posturing, no signs of active tracking or weapon systems preparation. It was as if the ship were nothing more than an abandoned hulk drifting through the cosmic void. Vrelnax found this passivity unsettling. Humans were known for their unpredictability, their ability to transform seemingly disadvantageous situations into unexpected opportunities. Every intelligence report, every encounter logged in the Confederacy's vast databases suggested that human vessels were never truly as they appeared. "Initiate primary scan sequence," he commanded, his voice a low resonant frequency that vibrated through the ship's communication systems. The scanning beam extended, a sophisticated array of quantum-entangled particles designed to penetrate and analyze without leaving a significant electromagnetic footprint. It was a technology so advanced that most species in the known galaxy would have been instantly mapped, their internal systems laid bare like specimens under a microscope. But this was a human vessel, and nothing about humans had ever been that simple. As the first scan results began to filter through the ship's computational systems, something unusual caught Vrelnax's attention. The data didn't make sense. The readings were inconsistent, impossible, even. And then the real mystery began. The initial scan results provoked a cascade of confusion among the Zarkax crew. Dr. Xanter's specialized analysis systems began to produce data that defied conventional understanding, creating a digital landscape of impossible geometries and recursive computational pathways. "This cannot be accurate," Xanter muttered, his manipulation tendrils dancing across multiple holographic interfaces. The vessel's internal configuration seemed to exist in a state of quantum uncertainty. Spaces that should not mathematically exist were somehow present, shifting and adapting with each microsecond of observation. The computational systems were particularly perplexing. What appeared to be simple mechanical components revealed themselves as intricate networks of adaptive algorithms. Each system seemed to possess a form of predictive intelligence that went far beyond traditional artificial intelligence. It was as if the ship's internal systems were engaged in a constant, fluid conversation with themselves, anticipating potential scenarios, recalibrating, and optimizing in real time. Energy distribution maps showed something equally remarkable. The human vessel's power systems didn't follow any standard engineering principle known to the Zarkax. Traditional starship designs maintained rigid energy pathways, with dedicated systems for propulsion, life support, weapons, and computational functions. This vessel demonstrated a completely different approach. Its energy networks were fluid, capable of instantaneous redistribution and optimization. Commander Lysera leaned over Xanter's shoulder, her secondary optical sensors zooming into the detailed readouts. The energy transfer efficiency is approaching theoretical limits, she observed, a note of reluctant admiration in her voice. It's as if the entire vessel is one integrated, living system. The ship's structural composition added another layer of complexity. Standard scanning techniques typically revealed clear boundaries between different material types. Hull plating, internal structural supports, computational cores. Here, those boundaries seemed to blur and merge. The hull itself appeared to be more than just a protective layer. Molecular analysis suggested a form of adaptive material that could potentially modify its own molecular structure in response to external stimuli. Xanter isolated one particularly intriguing data stream. The vessel's computational core, if it could even be called that, operated on principles that challenged everything the Zarkax understood about information processing. Traditional AI systems worked through linear decision trees, with clearly defined parameters and predictable response patterns. This human system appeared to function more like a living neural network, with millions of potential decision paths emerging and collapsing instantaneously. "Look at this," Xanter called out, projecting a three-dimensional representation of the ship's internal computational structure. What appeared on the holographic display resembled a complex, breathing organism more than a mechanical system. Decision pathways formed and dissolved, creating intricate patterns that seemed to anticipate potential scenarios before they could even be fully conceptualized. Captain Vrelnax observed the analysis with growing unease. The human vessel represented something far beyond a mere technological artifact. It was a statement, a demonstration of a fundamentally different approach to technological design. The crew's initial assessment of the ship as a worn-out, potentially obsolete vessel now seemed laughably naive. What they were examining was a work of technological artistry that pushed the boundaries of what was considered possible. "Prepare a comprehensive secondary scan," Vrelnax instructed. "I want every quantum of data analyzed. Something about this vessel is telling us a story. We just haven't learned how to read it yet." As the secondary scanning sequence initiated, no one on the Zarkax vessel noticed the subtle shift in the human ship's energy signature. No one saw the microscopic recalibrations happening in response to their probing, a silent, intelligent acknowledgement of their presence. The real mystery was just beginning to unfold. The breakthrough came unexpectedly, buried within layers of seemingly incomprehensible data. Dr. Xanter's team had been working in continuous cycles, their advanced neural interfaces pushed to their absolute limits as they attempted to decode the human vessel's internal architecture. What emerged was nothing short of revolutionary. The ship's hull was not merely a protective layer, but a dynamic, living system that challenged every known principle of material science. Molecular analysis revealed a composite structure that could actively respond to environmental conditions. Microfractures would spontaneously seal themselves, Radiation-damaged sections would redistribute molecular integrity, and the entire surface could subtly adjust its thermal and electromagnetic properties. "It's as if the hull is thinking," Xanter muttered, his translation implant converting his native language's complex clicking patterns into standard galactic communication. The research team had discovered that the vessel's exterior was essentially a massive, interconnected sensor network. Each microscopic section could collect, process, and respond to data independently, yet simultaneously contribute to a unified system. Commander Lissera brought up a comparative analysis of known Starship technologies. The holographic display showed a stark contrast. Traditional designs appeared rigid and simplistic compared to the fluid, adaptive nature of the human vessel, where other species designed systems with specific, limited functions. This human ship seemed to blur the lines between structure, defense, and intelligence. The weapon systems proved equally perplexing. Unlike the Zarkax's precisely engineered, fixed-position armaments, these human systems existed in a state of potential. Scanning revealed energy conduits that could reconfigure themselves milliseconds before deployment, creating weapon signatures that were impossible to predict or counter. Captain Vrelmax reviewed the preliminary reports with increasing fascination. The ship's computational core operated on principles that seemed to defy traditional understanding of artificial intelligence. It wasn't a simple computer system, but a complex, adaptive network that could learn, predict, and modify its own operational parameters in real time. The most intriguing discovery came from the ship's power management systems. Traditional Starship designs maintained strict separation between energy generation, distribution, and consumption. This human vessel treated energy as a living, flowing resource. Power could be redirected, transformed, and optimized with such speed and precision that it appeared almost sentient. "Look at these energy transfer patterns," Xanter explained to the assembled research team. The holographic display showed intricate pathways of energy flow, with each potential route constantly evaluated and adjusted. The system is not just efficient, it's predictive. It's analyzing potential scenarios faster than our most advanced computational systems can even comprehend. Deeper analysis revealed layers of complexity that bordered on the impossible. The ship's internal systems didn't just communicate, they negotiated. Each component seemed to have a level of autonomy, yet worked in perfect harmony with the entire vessel. It was less like a machine and more like a living organism, with each part contributing to a unified whole. The research team discovered something even more remarkable about the computational systems. Traditional AI was programmed with specific parameters and decision trees. This human vessel's systems appeared to generate new decision paths in real time, learning and adapting with each microsecond of operation. "We're not looking at a ship," Vrelmax observed quietly. "We're looking at a technological ecosystem." The implications were staggering. If this single vessel represented the current state of human technological development, what other capabilities might they be concealing? The Zarkax had always considered themselves the pinnacle of technological innovation. Now that assumption was crumbling with each layer of data they uncovered. As the analysis continued, no one on the Zarkax vessel noticed the subtle shifts happening in the scanned human ship. No one saw the microscopic adjustments, the silent acknowledgement of being observed. The vessel remained patient, waiting, watching. The moment of first active interaction arrived with a precision that defied expectation. Captain Vrelmax had authorized a passive threat assessment, a standard procedure for encountering unknown vessels. The scanning beam, a sophisticated array of quantum-entangled particles, extended from the Zarkax reconnaissance vessel with calculated delicacy. Dr. Xanter's team expected a routine data collection. What they received was anything but routine. The scanning beam touched the human vessel's exterior, and for a fractional moment, nothing happened. Then, in a sequence of events that would be analyzed for generations, the ship responded. It wasn't an attack. It wasn't a defensive maneuver. It was a message. The scanning beam itself became the conduit. Before the Zarkax could comprehend what was happening, Their own technological probe was transformed into a two-way communication channel. A burst of compressed data surged back along the exact quantum path of the original scan, bypassing traditional communication protocols with elegant simplicity. 3 of the Zarkak squadron's primary sensor arrays crashed simultaneously. The bridge of the lead reconnaissance vessel erupted into controlled chaos. Commander Lysera's manipulation tendrils flew across emergency control interfaces, attempting to isolate and contain the unexpected data intrusion. "Seal all external communication channels," she commanded, her voice cutting through the rising tension. But the damage was already done. The data burst wasn't a traditional electronic attack. It was a precise, surgical demonstration of technological capability. Within milliseconds, the human vessel had analyzed the Zarkak scanning technology, understood its entire operational framework, and sent back a response that was part diagnostic, part warning, and entirely incomprehensible. "It's not just reflecting our scan," Xanter muttered, his neural interfaces working overtime to process the incoming data fragments. "It's deconstructing our entire scanning methodology in real time." Captain Vrel Max watched the holographic displays with a mixture of professional fascination and growing unease. The human vessel remained visually unchanged. A weathered, seemingly unremarkable ship drifting in the vast darkness of space. Yet it had just demonstrated a level of technological sophistication that challenged everything the Zarkaks understood about interstellar reconnaissance. The data burst contained layers of information that defied simple categorization. Technical specifications danced alongside what appeared to be historical context, computational models intertwined with what might have been philosophical observations. It was less a traditional data transmission, and more like a complex, multi-dimensional conversation. "They're showing us exactly how much they know," Vrel Max realized, "and exactly how little we understand." The crashed sensor arrays began to recover, but not through traditional reset protocols. Instead, they seemed to be rebuilding themselves using fragments of the received data, a process that suggested an almost organic approach to system recovery. Commander Lysera isolated a small section of the received transmission. It contained what seemed to be a precise mathematical representation of the Zarkak's scanning beam's quantum signature, annotated with what could only be described as a technological footnote. The underlying message was clear: "We see you, we understand you, and we can reach you if we choose." It was a warning delivered with scientific precision. The human vessel made no further moves. It simply continued to drift, patient, and seemingly indifferent to the technological storm it had just unleashed. No communication attempts, no aggressive posturing, just a silent demonstration of capabilities that left the entire Zarkak squadron reassessing everything they thought they knew about technological warfare. "Recalibrate all systems," Vrel Max commanded, "and prepare a comprehensive analysis of this transmission. Something tells me we've only seen the smallest fraction of what this vessel is capable of doing." In the infinite blackness of space, the human ship waited, watching, learning, demonstrating that true power often lies not in what is shown, but in what remains hidden. Panic spread through the Zarkak squadron like a quantum cascade, each system and crew member processing the implications of the human vessel's unexpected response. The initial calm of the reconnaissance mission had evaporated, replaced by a growing sense of technological vertigo. Communication channels buzzed with frantic analysis. Senior officers from the 3 vessels engaged in rapid-fire consultations, their neural interfaces creating a complex web of shared consciousness. What had begun as a routine scanning mission had transformed into something far more significant, a moment that would potentially redefine their understanding of technological capabilities. Dr. Xanter's research team worked in continuous shifts, parsing through the fragments of data received during the initial scan. Each layer they decoded revealed new levels of complexity that challenged fundamental assumptions about information processing, computational design, and interstellar communication. "It's not just advanced technology," Xanter explained to Captain Vrel Max during an emergency briefing. "It's a completely different approach to technological development. Where we create systems, they seem to cultivate them, like living ecosystems rather than mechanical constructs. The ship's appearance became even more enigmatic under continued observation. What had initially seemed like simple wear and repair now appeared to be a deliberate camouflage. Each patch, each seemingly random structural modification, told a story of intentional misdirection. The vessel wanted to be underestimated. Commander Lysera pulled up comparative analysis charts, demonstrating the vast gulf between Zarkak's technological understanding and what this single human vessel represented. Traditional scanning methodologies seemed primitive, like children attempting to understand quantum mechanics through finger painting. The most unsettling aspect was the vessel's continued passivity. It made no aggressive moves, sent no direct communications, and appeared entirely uninterested in the Zarkak squadron's increasingly complex scanning attempts. This calculated indifference was far more intimidating than any direct threat. Deeper analysis of the initial data burst revealed something even more extraordinary. The transmission wasn't just a technical demonstration. It was a carefully constructed message. Embedded within the complex data streams were layers of information that seemed to anticipate the Zarkak's analytical approaches. "They're teaching us," Vrelnax realized during a moment of quiet reflection. "Not confronting us, teaching us." The ship's internal systems continued to defy conventional understanding. Energy distribution patterns suggested a level of predictive intelligence that bordered on prescience. Each potential scenario seemed to be analyzed and prepared for milliseconds before it could potentially occur. Tactical analysts began to reconstruct potential threat scenarios. What would this vessel be capable of if it were actually engaged in a confrontation? The preliminary models were terrifying in their implications. The human ship could potentially neutralize an entire squadron without firing a single traditional weapon. Its defensive capabilities were equally impressive. The adaptive hull could potentially redistribute energy, modify molecular structures, and create temporary computational nodes faster than any known tracking system could detect. It wasn't just a ship, it was a living, thinking entity. The Zarkak's Confederacy prided itself on technological supremacy. Generations of explorers and scientists had built a civilization based on the assumption of their unparalleled technological capabilities. This single human vessel was systematic. The breakthrough came during the 37th hour of continuous analysis. Dr. Xanter's team had been working in rotational shifts, their neural interfaces pushed to the absolute limits of computational endurance. What they discovered would fundamentally alter the Zarkak's understanding of technological capability. The ship's crew complement became the key to unraveling the greatest mystery. Initial scans had suggested minimal personnel, perhaps 2 or 3 individuals at most. The reality was both more mundane and infinitely more complex. The vessel could operate with minimal human presence, its adaptive artificial intelligence capable of handling 97% of all potential scenarios without direct intervention. "It's not about replacing human operators," Xanter explained during an emergency briefing, his neural tendrils manipulating holographic data projections. "It's about creating a symbiotic system where technology and human intelligence are fundamentally integrated." The holographic display revealed a revolutionary approach to human-machine interaction. Unlike the Zarkak's rigid hierarchical systems, this vessel represented a living, breathing ecosystem of technology and human intelligence. Each system seemed to be an extension of human creativity, capable of learning, adapting, and anticipating in ways that defied traditional computational models. Detailed analysis of the ship's computational cores revealed something extraordinary. The artificial intelligence wasn't a separate system. It was an extension of human cognitive processes. Machine learning algorithms were so deeply integrated with human decision-making patterns that the line between technological and biological intelligence became indistinguishable. Captain Vrelnax watched the presentation with growing fascination. The human approach represented a complete paradigm shift in technological development. Where the Zarkak's created tools, humans seemed to cultivate technological partners. The vessel's defensive capabilities emerged as the most remarkable discovery. Its systems could predict potential threats with such precision that traditional concepts of attack and defense became obsolete. It wasn't about raw power or firepower. It was about intelligent anticipation. Look at these predictive matrices. Dr. Xanter highlighted a complex holographic model. The ship doesn't just respond to threats. It creates entire scenarios, analyzes potential outcomes, and develops counter-strategies before a threat can even fully materialize. The computational model was a work of technological artistry. Millions of potential decision trees emerged and collapsed in microseconds, creating a living, breathing network of potential responses. Each potential scenario was analyzed from multiple perspectives, with the system constantly recalibrating and optimizing. Commander Lissera discovered something even more profound in the deeper layers of analysis. The ship's systems weren't just reactive. They were creative. When faced with unprecedented scenarios, the artificial intelligence could generate entirely new solution pathways, drawing from historical data, predictive modeling, and what could only be described as technological intuition. The vessel's energy management system proved equally revolutionary. Traditional starship designs maintained strict separation between energy generation, distribution, and consumption. This human vessel treated energy as a living, flowing resource. Power could be redirected, transformed, and optimized with such speed and precision that it appeared almost sentient. "We're not looking at a ship," Vrelnax observed quietly. "We're looking at a technological organism." The implications were staggering. If this single vessel represented the current state of human technological development, what other capabilities might they be concealing? The Zarkax had always considered themselves the pinnacle of technological innovation. Now that assumption crumbled with each layer of data they uncovered. Psychological profiles of potential human crew members added another layer of complexity. The ship's systems suggested a deep understanding of human psychology, the ability to anticipate not just technical scenarios, but human emotional and cognitive responses. Dr. Xanter's final analysis was both a warning and a revelation. "This is not just advanced technology," he concluded. "This is a fundamental reimagining of the relationship between biological and artificial intelligence." The human vessel remained patient, silent, a living testament to a technological philosophy. The confrontation, when it came, was nothing like anyone expected. As the Zarkax squadron continued their prolonged examination, the human vessel initiated a transmission that was less an attack and more a comprehensive demonstration of technological capability. The burst of compressed data materialized across all Zarkax communication channels, not as an intrusion, but as a meticulously organized information package. Captain Vrelnax watched in stunned silence as historical records, technological blueprints, and strategic analyses unfolded across the holographic displays. It was a message crafted with scientific precision, a deliberate, calculated revelation of human potential. The data dump was a masterpiece of informational architecture. Each section was carefully annotated, cross-referenced, and presented with a level of intellectual generosity that was simultaneously informative and subtly intimidating. It wasn't just raw information, it was a comprehensive lesson in technological philosophy. Historical records showed humanity's technological progression, a journey marked by continuous adaptation, creative problem-solving, and an almost intuitive approach to innovation. The Zarkax watched as centuries of human development unfolded, revealing a species that viewed technological challenges as puzzles to be understood rather than obstacles to be overcome. Technological blueprints demonstrated capabilities that went far beyond conventional understanding. The human vessel was not just a weapon or a transport. It was a living system of interconnected intelligence. Each component could adapt, learn, and reconfigure itself in response to environmental challenges. Dr. Xanter's team worked frantically to process the incoming data. What they discovered challenged every fundamental assumption about technological development. Humans didn't just create technology. They cultivated it, treating their machines as collaborative partners rather than simple tools. The strategic analyses were perhaps the most revealing. Embedded within the data were insights into human decision-making processes, diplomatic strategies, and a profound understanding of interspecies dynamics. The Zarkax realized they were being offered more than just technical information. They were being provided a comprehensive glimpse into human philosophical and strategic thinking. Commander Lissera noted the subtle nuances in the transmission. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't an attack. It was a carefully constructed communication that demonstrated capabilities while simultaneously offering a path to mutual understanding. They could destroy us, Vrel Max realized, but instead, they're choosing to communicate. The vessel's weapon systems, revealed in exquisite detail, were nothing short of revolutionary. Unlike traditional armaments that relied on raw destructive power, these systems were adaptive, intelligent networks capable of neutralizing threats through precise, minimal interventions. The emphasis was on prevention, not destruction. Technological schematics showed energy management systems that could redirect, transform, and optimize power with such efficiency that traditional concepts of weapon and defense became obsolete. Each system was a potential solution, each component a collaborative intelligence. The data revealed humanity's most profound technological philosophy: innovation as a form of communication. Where the Zarkax saw technology as a means of control, humans viewed it as a method of understanding, adapting, and coexisting. Psychological profiles embedded in the transmission provided insights into human cognitive processes. The ability to simultaneously analyze multiple potential scenarios, to approach challenges with creativity and empathy, emerged as a defining characteristic of human intelligence. As the transmission concluded, a final annotation appeared, almost like a footnote to the comprehensive data package. It was a simple mathematical formula, a complex quantum algorithm that seemed to encapsulate an entire philosophical approach to technological development. The human vessel made no further moves. It remained patient, silent, waiting. Captain Vrelmax understood now why human vessels were both feared and respected across the galaxy. It wasn't about firepower or territorial aggression. It was about an unparalleled capacity for intelligent adaptation, a technological philosophy that transformed machines into living, thinking entities. In the infinite darkness of space, the message was clear. Humanity was not to be underestimated. The aftermath of the encounter would ripple through the Zarkax Confederacy like a quantum cascade, fundamentally altering their understanding of technological intelligence and interstellar relationships. What had begun as a routine reconnaissance mission had transformed into a moment of profound philosophical revelation. Captain Vrelmax stood before the High Council, his neural interface projecting intricate holographic displays that captured every nuanced detail of the human vessel's extraordinary encounter. The chamber, typically a bastion of rigid hierarchical thinking, now hummed with an unprecedented sense of uncertainty and wonder. This was not merely a technological demonstration, Vrelmax reported, his voice resonating through the neural network connecting the council members. This was an invitation to reimagine our entire understanding of intelligence. The transmission from the human vessel had done far more than reveal technological capabilities. It had offered a comprehensive glimpse into an entirely different approach to existence, a philosophy of adaptation, collaboration, and continuous learning that challenged every fundamental assumption of Zarkax civilization. Dr. Xanter's research team continued to parse the received data, uncovering layers of complexity with each passing analysis cycle. The vessel's communication was less a display of power and more a meticulously crafted lesson in technological philosophy. Every data stream, every embedded algorithm spoke of a profound understanding that transcended traditional concepts of machine intelligence. Senior analyst Cretan, the Council's most respected technological historian, reviewed the findings with growing fascination. "They don't create technology," she observed during a critical review session. "They cultivate intelligence. Each system is a living ecosystem, each component a potential solution waiting to emerge." The psychological implications were equally profound. The human vessel had demonstrated an approach to intelligence that was simultaneously analytical and creative, where the Zarkak saw clear boundaries between biological and artificial systems. Humans appeared to see a fluid, interconnected landscape of potential. Diplomatic councils began immediate reassessments of centuries-old interstellar policies. The transmission was not a threat or a display of military might. It was an invitation, a carefully constructed communication that emphasized understanding over domination, adaptation over conflict. The vessel's ability to operate with minimal human presence suggested a deep, almost symbiotic integration between biological intelligence and technological systems. It wasn't about replacing human operators, but creating collaborative networks where creativity and computational power became indistinguishable. Strategic analysts realized the true depth of the encounter. The human vessel had arrived unannounced, demonstrated capabilities beyond comprehension, and departed with nothing more than a carefully constructed message of potential and possibility. Its very existence challenged the Zarkax's most fundamental beliefs about technological development. Embedded within the transmission were psychological profiles that revealed a species approaching challenges with a unique combination of empathy, creativity, and analytical precision. Humans didn't just solve problems, they reimagined entire systems of understanding. As weeks passed, the initial shock transformed into a profound philosophical awakening. The Zarkax Confederacy found itself at a critical juncture, forced to reconsider fundamental assumptions about intelligence, technology, and interstellar relationships. The most critical question emerged not as a spoken word, but as a collective realization. What other mysteries might humanity hold? In the infinite darkness of space, the human vessel continued its journey, a silent, living testament to a different way of understanding the universe. It had become more than a technological artifact. It was a messenger, a bridge between different conceptual universes, carrying with it the promise of potential yet unexplored. The Zarkax High Council sat in collective silence, the weight of this encounter pressing against the very foundations of their civilization. They had sought to scan a human warship and discovered something far more profound, a glimpse into a fundamentally different approach.